So, ever since the news broke out that the Harvard president, Claudia Gay, had resigned amid um, pla- um, accusations or allegations, I should say, of plagiarism, was this back in at the beginning of 2024, um, which I addressed in my video about the lack of diversity of thought in academia. I have been wondering, as the title pretty much suggests, are Ivy League schools actually elite, or are they just perceived as elite because the entire branding and marketing around them is prestige, basically? And I want to be clear, I'm not just going after American uh, elite universities here, the Ivy League schools as they're known, because the same question could be asked of even like the two elite top tier universities in the UK where I live, which are Cambridge and Oxford, because they've surely had their own kind of scandals in the past. But for the most part, most of the scandals, news, and I guess media is in the academic world anyway. In some ways now the political sphere as well, which is wild. Uh, is focused on American media, obviously, because that's just what they do. They kind of talk about themselves a lot, and so we know a lot more about Ivy League schools based on all these kind of scandals, allegations, etc., and everything else that happens there. Also, because a lot of I'll say STEM companies come out of Ivy League schools a lot. I mean, Stanford has produced some significant companies in the tech industry, in the engineering space. So has Harvard as well, because you know Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg both went to Harvard. I mean, they dropped out, but they still went to Harvard. And then I can't remember who went to Stanford, but yeah, because Stanford is close links to Silicon Valley. Uh, anyway, so yeah, ever since this whole scandal, I guess we'll call it, happened at the beginning of this year, I had that question, and I stumbled upon a Netflix series, documentary, I should say, when this thing loads, called what's it called? Operation Varsity Blues. It's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix now, basically, and it basically talks about the admission scandal that rocked top U.S. universities, which included Harvard, I believe Stanford, and Yale at least. I think those three are definitely named. I can't remember now. But it was them and a bunch of other Ivy League schools. And the scandal was around admissions and how this, was he like a sports coach or whatever? Or something like that. I'll call him an university admissions consultant, we'll call them. He basically would get kids from like rich families, wealthy families, into university using sports scholarships in like anything from water polo to surfing or whatever. I don't know. And they'd never done the sport at all, basically, but he'd get them in that way through they didn't call it the back door in the docu-series. They called it the side door, which I found hilarious. But yeah, he made a killing financially, and a lot of people were involved in the academic space who were like linked to him, and then obviously rich families. And I think, if I remember correctly from the story, because I didn't follow some of the news, like a lot of celebrity families were tied to this, like Hollywood stars and stuff, like their kids, because they paid for this stuff. And so, yeah, but this, it's not quite surprising, because I think there's been a suspicion for quite some time, even before this documentary came out or docuseries came out. That said, there's been a suspicion that rich kids get into university or admitted into these top tier schools not because they're actually smart, but just because their family name, right? And or I don't know, your family pays for the new school library or whatever, or like a new school building or whatever, and then boom, you're in, or whatever, or make a donation, charitable donation. There's always been those kind of, I guess, underlying feelings, because it's never been really covered, but it's been there, right? Is this thing that's been in the, I'll call it cultural zeitgeist of, yeah, rich kids probably get in because they're rich, not because they're smart. I'm sure there's some smart kids from rich families out there. I'm not going to say all of them just got in through the side door. But the question is, are the majority actually smart, or did they just get into the side door? So there's that as well. But anyway, going back to the actual topic of the video, my thoughts on this was, again, are these Ivy League schools actually that elite? And I've been thinking about this for a while, because my expectation has been that elite schools, right? Because I have some friends who, when I was in university, I had some friends who studied at Cambridge University, and I asked them, what is the curriculum like? What's it like studying at Cambridge University? They did different courses, whether STEM, humanities, whatever, everything in between. And the answers were similar. I asked them, just give me the broad strokes of what your semester looks like. And I was told some very scary stuff. So I believe they said, if I remember correctly, that they had exams every, is it 6 or 8 weeks? I think it's about 6 weeks. And these exams were graded as part of the final kind of outcome. And you were expected to get some top tier marks in each and every exam. And these weren't easy exams. They were learning advanced stuff, etc. And it was very scary hearing, because these kids studied a lot. They also partied a lot, and initially I was surprised at how much they party and drink. But after hearing what their semester looks like, I was like, fair enough, you guys definitely pretty much end up having a drinking problem, because that's probably one of the few ways you're gonna kind of maintain sanity on this. I'm not encouraging that as being the way to do it, but I understood why it went that way. I think there would have been better ways to utilize your downtime to maintain sanity in that kind of scenario, but whatever. And so with Ivy League schools, going back to them, if they are so many, because I'm sure Harvard admits over hundreds of thousands of students every year, but if a significant portion of them are getting in through the side door, then why aren't we seeing more dropout rates, or higher dropout rates for Harvard, or even any of the other Ivy League schools? Because their dropout rates aren't that high. And I'll show you some of the articles I found basically on this that they have been recorded. Because surely, I'd expect the dropout rate from an elite school, especially if you have a bunch of people getting in who don't actually deserve to be there. Because if they were good enough, they'd just have gone through the front door and got in, because they'd been smart enough, right? If they're managing to survive 4 to 6 years in Ivy League school, getting out with a degree, whether it's an undergrad, a master's, whatever, then are these schools actually elite? Is the curriculum they teach that elite? Is it different to the more regular university that's not regarded as top tier, quote unquote? But that's the question. And so I go back to the question, or to my point of, are they just perceived as prestigious, but they're not actually, they're just regular universities with a good brand? And it's something, Bill Burr even covered this, so I'm going to play that clip in a minute. One moment. Let me just put this in here.
College admission scandal.
Oh, I love that.
The parents, you love it.
The funny thing about that scandal is that they got their dumb kids in there, but then they were able to handle the curriculum with no problem.
Right.
None of them flunked out. So I guess evidently the real difficulty is getting in.
Getting into those
Once
colleges.
you're in, you're fine.
Yeah.
So you went to Harvard, right?
So, yeah, pretty much Bill kind of covers it as well there, and said, the whole, he calls them dumb kids. I'm not going to say that, but they're not good enough, clearly, to get in through the front door. So how are they surviving 4 years at Harvard or Stanford or whatever Ivy League school it is, and coming out with a degree? What's going on here? I need answers. I'm just curious to know what's going on. So, yeah, that's kind of what I need answers. So let me see what the next article is. So this website, College Factual. Now I don't know how legitimate these numbers are, but according to this, these are the Harvard kind of graduation rates and retention rates. So according to this, 84% of the student body graduate with a 4-year degree, and 96 graduate with a 6-year degree. And then the retention rate, I guess people who don't flunk out or don't leave or drop out, is 76%. So I guess there's not that many startup founders dropping out of Harvard, apparently, not since Bill Gates and Zuckerberg. But anyway, these numbers are too high for an elite university, because I should be expecting, especially with the scandal of a lot of people are getting in when they're not good enough, these numbers should be lower, because there's no way you're telling me you have an 84% graduation rate when apparently there's a significant number of people going in through the side door who have no business being in an elite university. Unless you're telling me that of the remaining 16%? I think it's 16%, yeah, 94, yeah, 16%, they're the ones who go through the side door, which would be fair, except there was another scandal where Harvard had some interesting recruitment strategies. Let me see if I can find that. So there's this scandal from back in this article was written in 2023, but I think the scandal happened a few years ago, where Harvard was accused by some Asian American students of bias and discrimination in the recruitment admission of students, stating that they Harvard didn't just use the academic abilities. I think they call the SATs, the SATs in the US, to determine who goes into Harvard. So basically, the idea is, if you're an elite university, at least my understanding and my expectation is, you get the best of the best students. You just get whoever is the highest SATs, we'll call them in this case. That's what they call in the US. Pretty much gets into the top tier universities, because that's what top tier universities are looking for, right? They want the best of the best students, so they can then go and cultivate better and better, top tier elite academics and people who can go into the private sector and end up starting companies and new technologies and new discoveries, etc. Whether it's in research, private sector, wherever, in government, wherever, these people will be the most effective from an academic point of view. They have academic abilities beyond most people, right? Excuse me. And I know there's a stereotype that Asian people are, in the West anyway, Asian people are super smart, especially when it comes to STEM, right? And it's a stereotype, negative or positive. I'm not going to go into that. It's a stereotype that exists in the West. And so let's assume in the US that was the same case. And let's just assume, I would say all Asian American students here, but I would say a significant amount had some really high SATs. They should have been getting into Harvard, but apparently they were not getting in, and because they were being held to a far higher standard. That's what it happened in 2014, actually, the complaint, where it was about intentionally and improperly discriminating against Asian American applicants in the admission process by including employing character ratings influenced by racial stereotypes and requiring Asian Americans to meet a high threshold in an academic and extracurricular accomplishment, I guess, compared to other races of people, whatever. And now, granted, this article is in the Harvard Crimson, which I believe is owned by Harvard. At least for my research, it's owned by Harvard, and it's like their news journal, news kind of reporting business or platform or whatever. So this article, at some point, it talks about the SATs and stuff, and at some point says there was no intentional discrimination, but I'm not expecting the Crimson to say Harvard is guilty. Whether they are guilty or not, I don't know. They were found not guilty. I'll show you the article where they were found not guilty in the actual court of law, but the Harvard Crimson obviously was never going to say they're guilty, because that's their employer. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was the scandal with the whole admissions thing. And this is what USA Today, I think this was tied somehow to a Supreme Court affirmative action court case about removing affirmative action as a thing in the US, and it then tied to that because I believe, if I remember correctly, either the Asian American case or something to do with affirmative action argued that deserving students, I don't know what happened there, deserving students such as these Asian American students who deserve to be in Harvard were being discriminated against because Harvard and other Ivy League schools were trying to diversify their enrollment, and so they were intentionally limiting the amount of Asian Americans they were going to recruit and admitting to the university to cover so they can get other races, diversifying their enrollment trends, despite growing. So they wanted more, I guess, black and brown people or whatever. And I mean, this in some ways this ties to my video where I spoke about how academic institutions are focusing on their own diversity. They're looking at diversity in terms of how people look like, instead of the content of their character and their actual abilities, their merits, beyond their skin tone. And I'm not going to say it's true or not, but based on this case, because I don't want to end up getting sued by Harvard or anyone. So based on all of this, that was part of the whole thing. And that's this article. And then the other article which talks about why they lost. So they lost the case this was written in 2021. So they lost the case, the Asian American students, they lost the case, and the reason was that so hold on, before I say the reason. So basically the Asian Americans stated that it was harder for them to get into Harvard because of their personality ratings, which were subjective evaluations of personal qualities, I guess, around them as people. Significantly lower for white applicants. And then the judge, Judge Alison D. Burroughs, pretty much concluded that the data there was a statistically significant and negative relationship between Asian American identity and personal identity. So she said there was some sort of correlation, I guess we'll say, and in terms of the bias, holding constant any reasonable set. Yeah, I'm just summarizing. I will put this in the links below, by the way. Yeah, I think she pretty much highlighted that there was some sort of issue with this, but she also I guess, ruled against the Asian American students, the plaintiffs, because they couldn't actually prove that the lower personal ratings given to them by Harvard were as a result of animus or ill-motivated racial hostility towards Asian Americans by Harvard officials. So they couldn't prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So they didn't. They didn't win the case. But all this is to say, just because they didn't win doesn't mean there might not be a grain of truth in this. I don't know. But my point is, going back to that graduation rate, unless you're telling me that. So because now we know there's a scandal where Harvard is not necessarily taking the people with the best SAT scores necessarily if their personality ratings don't reach a certain threshold. So you can't then tell me that of this, out of 100, 84% actually graduated, and the people who went in through the side door from the scandal were only making up 16% of the student body, whilst also telling me that even for the people who do go through the front door, they also didn't go for the very best, based on the SAT scores anyway. They have a significant chunk of them, probably, most likely, but they don't have all of them. So this can't be as high. At least I don't expect it to be as high, but they're reporting, so whatever. And then for the 6th year, it's even higher. I mean, 6th year, would that be including like a master's degree or something? I assume that includes like a master's degree of some sort. You can't then tell me that you have a 96% graduation rate. That's like, really? For an elite university? with all these scandals around admissions, and we're clearly currently suspicious of who's really, if the student body is actually as elite academically, because we already know there's a bunch of people getting into the side door. There's people getting in because diversity, of whatever that means, I guess, to Harvard nowadays. And also, you can't then tell me like everyone who got in, like 96% went into a 6-year graduation, 96% graduate within 6 years with a master's or whatever. Like, statistically, that's improbable for an elite university anyway. Now, granted, this 96% might be made up of a far smaller group of people who might actually be elite students from an academic point of view. They might legitimately be legit, like, top tier students. So that's the sort of argument against that. Again, I don't have proof. It's just, this is just all based on perception, right? These numbers are just how you perceive them. And then the retention rate, it's lower than the graduation rate, which I don't know what that means. I don't really have an opinion on that. It's based on these graduation numbers, I expect the retention to be higher as well. So I guess over 20% of the student body somehow drops out or leaves Harvard at some point. I mean, I guess in some ways maybe the dropouts from this, I'm assuming retention means dropout in this case. I might be wrong. I'm gonna see if there's any way to explain that. Retention rate, freshmen applies to the comeback. We'll come back for the second year. Sorry. So retention isn't based on like a 4-year or 6-year degree. It's basically just based on 1 year. So if you come in for the first year, whether you come back for the second year, 76% come back. Okay, so we could technically call that a dropout rate in some ways, because if you made it in Harvard and then just survived 1 year and didn't make it to the graduation, fair enough. That might then explain the because this might be the people who either couldn't hack it or just realized, okay, I thought I was smart, but I'm amongst the monsters now, and I really can't do it. I don't have what it takes, apparently. I'm going to go to another university. So that's my explain why the graduation rate is higher, because after that, 24% drop in people not coming back for second year onwards, you're left with a far better student body, I guess. But still, from the docuseries, the Operation Varsity Blues on Netflix, it sounded like most of the people going in through the side door stayed there for the 4 years. So, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, that's I'm just suspicious about that, Now, with all this research, I still don't have an actual answer as to why aren't there more people dropping out. Like, why aren't the flunk out rates higher? As Bill Burr said, the flunk out rates aren't that high in Harvard or any other Ivy League school. Why is this? And then I stumbled upon another article about cheating. So apparently, Harvard had a cheating scandal. This was 2012 when this was reported, and 125 students, kind of were involved in this. And yes, a recent Harvard grad at the time published, a memoir discussing the experience, including the observation of the cheating culture. Apparently there was a lot of cheating on at Harvard. People were copying take-home copying take-home assignments, exchanging of notes in bathroom stalls during tests. God damn. Research papers written, so desperate students. Okay, so there's like a business happening there as well. God damn. Entrepreneurial spirit of the human mind, right? $800 for a paper. God damn. Whoever was doing this was making a lot of money. Question if... Okay, so this doesn't necessarily... This might explain, actually, why, I guess, the people who went into the side door who cheated to get in might have survived. Because if you come from a rich family, you probably are involved in paying someone to write like a paper for you. The $800 for a kid from a rich family is nothing, right? It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong. I'm not American, but $800 is still a lot of money in the US, even outside the US. Where the money would stretch a lot go a lot longer. But for a kid coming from a wealthier family or student, this is nothing. They could afford to pay this and get their paper, whatever, take home test done for them in a way that isn't noticeable that it's been it's been done by someone else. Then they are given the talking points, whatever, in case they're questioned, and then they go and pass the 4-year degree and go and run and go outside into the world or whatever. It might explain it because, as they said, nearly half turn in the. Okay, I take nearly half 209 students. Okay, damn. Okay, so there's that cheating scandal right there that's apparently been a thing, and I think Harvard also in 2021 Harvard Crimson, again, reports for Harvard, obviously it's owned by them. They claim that in a 6-year high, 27 undergrads forced to withdraw from Harvard due to code of conduct violations, which I assume means they cheated, at least based on this article. That's the sound of it. They were caught cheating, or they called it academic dishonesty, which I assume just means cheating or plagiarism or a mix of both, or paying someone else to write your exams, or you were caught, I guess, selling the service of writing people's assignments, etc. It could be any one of those things. And apparently, 99 of the 138 review cases without finding responsibility, mean that, okay, 99%, 138 cases. And another additional 56 students were put on probation by the university or by Harvard. Yeah. So basically, this is 2021, by the way, when this is reported. So yeah, there's another scandal in 2021. And what's this? Yeah, here they kind of explain that, I guess, I won't say they're justifying it, but they explain that, I guess, the fear of failure has led some to, be involved in this cheating scandal in 2020, 2021, I guess COVID era times. Yeah, I guess they were all home, so it would have been easier to cheat, to be fair. If we're being honest, like, if you're studying from home, yeah, would have been, and you're doing your exams from home, I guess, online. Like, how are they gonna know if you cheated or not? It would be easy to discuss with, like, a friend or whatever, or like be having like a group text on the side or something. Especially like on like WhatsApp or whatever, you can have like WhatsApp on your web, right, on your desktop, on your laptop, and then you could have a tab open just for your discussions, and you're doing exam on another screen, multi-screen setup, etc. It's possible. There are ways around this. Yeah, because 2021, everyone was at home, lockdowns and stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Cheating might explain why some of these side door entrances into Harvard survived 4 years, right? And that's, I guess, I'm not gonna say that's fair, but at least it explains it to some degree. But still, even with cheating, the curriculum should be so difficult. No one has time to help you cheat. Like, the fact that there are students who have time to start a service to write, where was it? Was it this one? No. It was this one. Yeah. The fact that you have students who have time to sell a service, to write research papers, take home tests, do exchanging of exam results, exam like answers, and charge up to $800 for I guess per paper or per assignment or whatever. If the fact that there's students with that kind of time tells me Harvard's curriculum isn't that hard, because granted, I know you might be a third year doing this to first years, right, to make money on the side, and you might think, well, yeah, you already have the answers. But my point is, your third year should be so stressful, right? You're thinking, I don't have time to even do this service. Like, I have to survive third year so I can make it fourth year and get this degree. I don't have time to help the first years and try to make money. I just don't. Like, the amount of people smart enough to be able to handle that, the expected pressure of Harvard based on what I expect the curriculum to look like, and then be able to do this side business would be a very small group. They'd be like those top tier, beautiful minds type of people where it's like everything is just easy. Like basically they're just like superior intelligence basically. And that's even at Harvard, that would not be like majority of the student body. That would be a very small group. So either way, it shouldn't be, the cheating scandals shouldn't explain it to this degree, but hey, it's the only information I have. So, it is what it is. And let's see, there was I found an article. I'm hoping I still have it. I found an article that talked about grade inflation might be involved in this. So let me see if I can find that. Okay, I found the article where they talk about grade inflation. So this is in the Harvard Crimson again, which I know, I've said it myself. It's biased towards Harvard, obviously, but they even say like Harvard's too easy. I looked it up. I looked into literally every possible way to fix that. So apparently, according to this article, there's too many people getting A's at Harvard, especially in the 2020-2021 academic year. Now, granted, I said 2020-2021 was the year of the lockdown. Everyone was home, so granted, everyone getting A might be actually attributed to them just cheating, right? Because they were home. It's harder to inspect that they're not cheating, so they were just cheating. It's probably easier. That's probably an easier way. But yeah, this is the graph. What's this graph say? Percentage receiving a given GPA 2019. Okay, so it's been going up. Okay, so even before, so the amount of people getting, I guess, higher GPAs, grade point average, I think it says. I'm just going to say A, because that's going to make it easier for me. People getting A's, or B's, I guess, we say mostly A's, has been going up anyway, ever since 2019. So that's, 2019 was there, and then 2020, why is 2020 down here? That makes sense. Wait, what? Is this the number of students in the GPA, right? So, yeah, 2020 would have been up here. Okay, I'm not sure I'm reading this correctly. Let's just see. First album, stream form, the investigator setup. Okay, I'm not understanding this graph, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But basically, there's a lot of A's being given, and it's due to grade inflation. This article doesn't quite explain the way I thought it would. Changing buckets. Let's see if there's another article. Oh, hold on. Nowhere to go but up. Oh yeah. So now here's the GPA going up. It's always been going up basically. This is from like the 1890. Damn, Harvard is that old? 1890? Jesus Christ, that's like what, 200 years ago? No, yeah, 200 years ago, man. Wow, less than 200 years ago because it's 1890. So it'd been 1990 would have been 100 years. And then it's about 100 and what? 130 years, give or take, 134, maybe 140 years. Still, Harvard is that old. Jesus, that's ridiculous. But the GPA, which I'm going to call A's and B's, has been going up. Granted, I expect between 2020 and 2022, we can say cheating was higher because people were home, lockdowns. But either way, even before that, the GPA was going up, which signifies that the grade inflation. Again, it's either they're making the exams easy or they're just shifting, or too many people are failing and they're just shifting the boundaries of the A, right? So if they have a student body of 100 who use an easy numbers and 80% of them actually get a C or a D on the exam, on the exams, I should say, that looks bad, right? Because Harvard's supposed to be elite. So they might then just say, okay, actually, let's assume A was 90 points, 90%, B's 80, C 70, D 60, and most people were getting in the 60s, 70s. They might scale back and say, actually, as of now, A is 70%, right? Or A is 75% or something, to get more people into that A bracket so they keep their prestige. So, I mean, schools in the UK have done this before. This isn't like I'm not going to say this is not an American thing with Ivy League schools. Universities in the UK have done this as well. Even high schools have done this. So yeah, okay, great point. Inflation, and this article, the what? Mrs. However, inflation at Harvard, great inflation at Harvard and Yale, 80% of students get A. Yeah, that's too high for an elite university. I'm sorry, like I know your students are all elite, even though say 20% are just side door entrances, and the others are made up of an amalgamation of people who aren't necessarily all elite because of the scandal from the Asian American thing. We're gonna assume another, we'll say 30% aren't actually elite. They're good students, but they're not good enough to get into Harvard without a little diversity help, we'll say. And then we'll say the remaining 50% are the actual elite students. 80% of your student body getting, by the way, those numbers are, I just broad stroke those numbers I just mentioned right there. 80% of your student body getting A's is ridiculously high because you're an elite university. The number of people getting A's should always be a small number, even if you are literally dealing with the most uber smart, craziest smart students in your kind of student body. There is no way they are all going to be getting A's. Sorry about that. I had to answer a phone call. But yeah, as I was saying, Harvard, Yale, probably other Ivy League schools. This number is too high, guys. And this was reported in 2023. Now, way too high. Definitely great inflation right there. And yeah, I guess there's a graph showing the trends. So I guess the Harvard Crimson tried to kind of explain this better. But these guys don't really care. They're not protecting Harvard in the same way. And I mean, I guess on Quora, which we will take with a grain of salt, obviously, because I'm not going to say they're right or wrong, because I don't know. But this individual graduated in 2023. According to them, they mentioned that great inflation is a thing. And case in point, I took economics as my freshman for first midterm, went horribly. 100 out of 130? How's that horrible? Wait, what? My first exam went terribly. 100 out of... I assume that's 100 marks out of 130 in total. So, how is that bad? And they said second year went 113 over 100. Okay, I think they meant 130 there. But this would make sense otherwise. Which is still really good. So I'm not sure why 100 over 1. Because that's... You're only 30 points off. So that's almost... If... That's like 70%. Right? I mean, I don't know. I might be saying that wrong. 70, 75%. And then in their final one, they did 114. And they claimed that the final was 140 was the best. Fair enough, but the difference between 110 and 100 and 114 is like 14 points. Like, okay. Out of the 100 is good, but apparently it's horrible. Maybe this person was too smart and expected better. Fair enough. Test combined 70% coursework. Remaining 25 was accounted for. What? Of the remaining 25 unaccounted for, I earned 23% of those points. Okay. There's no way I should have received anything higher than a B. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so based on all this, they should have gotten a B. But apparently they, on my numerical grade, 85%. Yeah, 85% would be a solid B, basically. It's not even a B. B plus would be like 88%, wouldn't it? But the class was graded on rank, not performance. God damn it. I don't know what that means. I don't like it already. And if you scored in the top 50% of the class, you received an A. Jesus Christ, are you mad? Are you... what? Harvard, what in God's name are you doing? Jesus, like, again, this is why I raise those questions, guys. Is Harvard actually an elite university? Because top 50% you get an A? Top 50%? 50% is a fail. Okay? For an elite university, 50% should be like an... What? Because it should be what? A is 90 plus, B is 80 plus, C is 70 plus, or 70 to 80, D is 60 to 70, E would be 50 to 60, and then F would be anything below 50, basically. Yeah, 50% would be basically fail. E is not exactly a pass. We're not exactly going to be celebrating an E, right, if we're being legit about this. So, 50%, but this is what I was saying, like, this is ridiculous. Like, are they actually elite? that's the only question I need answers, man. Because I'm based on the information. Granted, this is Quora. I'm not going to say this is the gospel truth, but let's assume there's a grain of truth in this, because they might be right. That's silly. By the hair of my chin, I might just score in the top 50% of class, earning an A minus. So I would love to say I deserved that A because of my performance, but I didn't. I only earned it comparatively. Yeah, I'll give you the real world example of how the grade inflation is. It exists. It's the elephant in the room. Harvard students are furtively thanking you for it. We just hate to admit we are. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I don't think anyone else answered the question I asked. Ooh, let's see. Okay, they're talking about things. So yeah, that's another one. Take the Quora thing, and I think Hacker News from Y Combinator tried to get in on the action. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand the article. I didn't see any numbers that I could easily highlight to you guys to make this make sense. So I'm not really gonna cover this one. I'm gonna leave it alone. But yeah. Oh, there's a YouTube video. Why you shouldn't go to Harvard? Interesting. Let's see what they have to say. Okay, I had a quick look around this video. I just clicked through it. It's 8 minutes long. I'm not going to listen to it now, obviously, to save time. But I'll put the link in the description, and then you guys can check it out. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. Yeah, I just think Ivy League schools now, or I'll just say elite universities, it's all just branding. That's what I think. It's all perception, and they're not actually as I'll put back the Netflix thing. They're not actually as elite as they claim, as we think or believe they are. I just believe they make themselves look elite by making it harder to get in for the normal folk, obviously. If you're rich enough, side door, easy. Operation Varsity Blues showed that. But if you're everyone else, the majority of the population, and you are working hard or you are smart, and you meet the academic merits that would make you a candidate to be admitted into a top tier university like Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, whatever. They make it harder to get in, and that's how they make themselves look as elite as they claim to be. But based on this and the scandal of the president, Claudia Gay, or former president, I should say, I don't think they're actually as elite as they claim, because yeah, how do you end up with a Harvard president who plagiarized their research? And it's like, how did you guys not catch that? Or you did and you just didn't care because you wanted to promote diversity, not the diversity of thought, but the other diversity on your in your university, instead of actually looking for properly qualified, based on merits and character, people to run your university, and also people who have the right merits academically and the kind of drive to be academically excellent to kind of admit into university. You didn't prioritize those things, and this has been the case. Like this, some of the things I spoke about as scandals go back to like 2012. Like the Asian American thing was like back in 2012, 2014. So there's at least a decade. Probably other scandals I haven't really found because I was looking for those specific ones. But there's at least a decade worth of scandals for Ivy League schools. Just Harvard are the ones who are currently getting the biggest hit. And I'm not anti-Harvard. I don't hate them. I don't have an opinion on Harvard beyond, I've been told they're an amazing school. That's what I've been told. But currently the information at hand that we're getting in the public eye, it's making me question that. And yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts, guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. You find this video interesting. It's a curiosity of mine ever since I finished my PhD. I've always wondered, are other people struggling like I was struggling? I found out yes, they were. And then I also then wondered, is it doing a PhD at like Cambridge University, I guess in the UK, or Oxford, would that be any different to doing it at Anglia Ruskin like I did, or another university that's more a regular university? Would it be any different? I don't know. I'm starting to question those things, but yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the video here. Catch you guys in the next one. All right.